Martin, what's your initial reaction to the decisions you've heard regarding the budget?
My initial reaction is that the Chancellor has found himself in a pretty tight spot, that the economy is clearly still bumping along the bottom a bit, and his deficit is still there, needed to be cleared, and so he doesn't really have a huge amount of room for manoeuvre. He's funded one or two things in particular areas by increasing tax in other areas. Overall, I think it's a decent stab at trying to stimulate growth and encourage enterprise.
And how do you think these announcements will affect the UK's flexible work?
I'm not sure they'll affect the flexible workforce too much, to be honest. There are very few specific measures that are aimed directly at the flexible workforce. The only one that I can particularly think of is the announcement to keep IR35 in the short term while they work out a better medium-term solution. We think that's a good thing, so that we don't get something worse in the short term before the right ultimate answer has been thought through. There are specific increases on mileage allowances from 40 pence to 45 pence, which is good for freelancers and contractors. But other than that, there wasn't anything in detail in the measures contained within the budget, although I have to say that the general rhetoric from the budget was quite encouraging in terms of enterprise and entrepreneurship and starting up businesses.
In your predictions ahead of the budget, you stated that the budget decisions from past governments have failed to support freelancers and contractors. Do you think this budget has now recognised their importance?
No, I don't think that the budget recognised the importance of the flexible workforce generally, or more specifically contractors and self-employed professionals. There was some encouraging wording around the flexible workforce in the Chancellor's speech, but he didn't then put any firm measures beneath that when it came to the detail. So I think in summary this is not a bad budget for contractors and freelancers, but I definitely don't think they've been considered specifically in terms of the measures that have been included.
And have there been any surprise decisions made that you weren't expecting?
The reduction in corporation tax is a bit of a surprise, and I think is to be welcomed generally as a measure that tries to create a commitment to a UK economy that is friendly to business and encouraging of growth and inward investment. The reduction in fuel duty was pretty well known, although the details are quite impressive in terms of the amount that they reduce it by. But other than that, no, there wasn't anything particularly surprising, and I think that's because, again, he didn't have a lot of room to manoeuvre with the deficit he needs to get down and the faltering steps in the economy at the moment.
And what impact will the decisions have on the issues currently surrounding small business tax, including IR35?
Well, the key things that were included in relation to small business tax were a commitment to look at integrating income tax and national insurance. That is a very complex area that the Chancellor recognised will take a number of years to work through, but there's a general recognition that that can add value from a business perspective, and particularly at the small business end, because of the simplification it brings. They also said that they would leave IR35 as is at the moment and try to administer it better whilst they work out a better medium-term solution. So they are the big issues, I think, for small business in this budget.
And finally, Martin, the Prime Minister gave a passionate speech recently which stated enterprise is the only hope for growth. Do you think the budget reflects this statement?
I think I probably do. I don't think it's one that is incredibly impressive in terms of how it supports growth, but my sense is that's because of the constraints the Chancellor faces around the deficit that has to be addressed and the fact that the economy is in such a weak state. I think overall, given those circumstances, this is a budget that's pretty strong in terms of trying to encourage growth.